Hello students, this video is comprised of the concepts from the chapter Human Nutrition included in 11th class syllabus. This video it consists of a short recap of digestive system in human beings as well as it consists of how various complex food substances are broken down into smaller food substances and simpler food substances with the help of various enzymes, and they are utilized by various cells of our body. So, let us study how digestion of various nutrients present in our diet takes place in our body. So, let us move further. In this video, we will study about digestion of various nutrients in our diet. As we all know, our diet, it consists of complex food substances, that is carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and various nucleic acids also. So in this video, we are going to study how these complex food substances are broken down into simpler food substances in order to obtain energy. How this is done? This is done by the process which is called as digestion. To define digestion is the process by which complex food substances are hydrolyzed. They are split up into smaller molecules into the various parts of our alimentary canal. Thus, the process of digestion it is of two types. Number one, intracellular digestion, and number two, extracellular digestion. What is intracellular digestion? Intracellular digestion is a digestion which takes place inside the cells. Extracellular digestion, the breaking down of complex food substances into simpler food substances in the cavities of the cell is called as extracellular digestion. Let us study about digestion in human beings in this video. First of all, let us know where does this process of digestion it takes place. Process of digestion it takes place in our alimentary canal. Alimentary canal it starts from mouth and leads to buccal cavity, from buccal cavity to esophagus, from esophagus to stomach, and stomach to small intestine, and then to large intestine, then finally to colon, and then to rectum part. Now, the process of taking in of food is called as ingestion. We take in complex food, that is called as ingestion. It goes to our buccal cavity. In our buccal cavity, teeth and tongue is present. Various digestive juices also assist in the presence of salivary juices, that is over here in the buccal cavity saliva is present, and it has an enzyme which is called as salivary amylase, which acts on carbohydrates and breaks them into simpler sugar. No digestion takes place in esophagus. Then semi-digested food which is called as bolus, it moves to our stomach. Medium in the stomach is acidic, that is hydrochloric acid is secreted by the walls of stomach. Over here, digested food which has come from the buccal cavity is further acted upon by various enzymes and digestive juices that we are going to study further. Then this food which it has been digested, now it is called as chyme. It moves to our small intestine. Over here, further digestion takes place and absorption of food takes place. Further, the food it moves to the large intestine. Only absorption of water it takes place in large intestine. Let us study how digestion of carbohydrates, proteins and fats it takes place in our body. Coming back to our topic, digestion of carbohydrates. Digestion of carbohydrates starts from our mouth. As carbohydrates, they are present in the complex food. The three major sources of carbohydrates in the normal human diet are sucrose, lactose, and starches. Other carbohydrates ingested to the small extent are amylose, glycogen, proteins and dextrins, and minor quantities of other carbohydrate derivatives. The human diet also contains large amount of cellulose, but the enzyme capable of hydrolyzing cellulose are not present and they are not secreted by digestive tract of human beings. Hence, cellulose are not digested in our alimentary canal and it is not considered as food for human beings. But cellulose is principal source of carbohydrates for many herbivorous animals. Now, first, how does digestion of carbohydrates? It takes place in the buccal cavity. In buccal cavity and stomach. When the food is chewed, in the buccal cavity, it is mixed with saliva, and saliva it consists of an enzyme which is called as salivary amylase. Salivary amylase breaks the starches into sugars, and thus complex food carbohydrate is broken down into simpler form of sugars. Next comes the part which is called as esophagus. No digestion takes place over here. The semi-digested food now it moves to our stomach. Medium in stomach is acidic, therefore gastric juices they are incapable of digesting the enzymes which are present. They are destroyed and no digestion of carbohydrates it takes place in stomach. Next food moves to small intestine. Here digestion of carbohydrates it takes place which is as follows. Maltose is present and in presence of enzyme maltase it is broken down into 2 glucose. Sucrose it is broken down in presence of sucrase into 1 glucose and 1 fructose. Limit dextrins in presence of dextrinase is broken down into glucose. Lactose which is a milk sugar it is broken down into glucose and galactose in presence of enzyme which is called as galactose. So this way these complex sugars and carbohydrates they are broken down into simpler form and they are absorbed by the cells of our intestine. Next is digestion of proteins that we will study how digestion of proteins it takes place. But before that, fats are also present in our body. Fats they are digested by the help of enzyme which is called as lipase. Fats are in complex form and they are broken down into simpler glycogen as well as small globules, and this breaking down of fats by lipase is called as emulsification of fats. Let us move to the digestion of proteins now. We will see how proteins they are digested by the various enzymes and digestive juices present in our alimentary canal. Continuing with the digestion of proteins, again proteins are present in our diet and their digestion starts along with the various components. First, they enter the mouth and the stomach. As saliva has no proteolytic enzyme, the enzymes which help in the digestion of proteins they are called as proteolytic enzyme. So saliva it has only carbohydrate digesting enzyme which is called as salivary amylase or ptyalin. So no protein digesting enzyme is present in the saliva, therefore no digestion of proteins it takes place in saliva. Next it moves to our stomach. The gastric juice of most of the vertebrates HCl and pepsinogen. Pepsinogen is converted into active pepsin in the presence of a strongly acidic pH that is about 1 to 2 in the stomach. Pepsin is a very potent proteolytic enzyme. It digests proteins in our body and it hydrolyzes many proteins into smaller molecules of proteoses and of peptones. And it is a non-specific endopeptidases and it acts on a variety of proteins. Let us see. As the food passes the duodenum, pepsin action is stopped by the alkalinity of intestinal contents. Pepsin also hydrolyzes soluble casein. What is casein, children? Milk protein is called as casein into paracasein and whey protein. Paracasein is an precipitated spontaneously as calcium paracalcinate and in the form of solid curd which is called as milk clot. And another milk clotting enzyme, coagulating enzyme is proteases and it is called as renin. Then pancreatic in our intestine, pancreatic proteases are present when protein they leave the stomach. They are mainly in the form of proteases and in the form of peptones and larger polypeptides. Immediately upon entering the small intestine, they are partially broken down into a smaller proteolytic pancreatic enzymes they act upon it. Most of the pancreatic enzymes are secreted in inactive form and they are namely trypsinogen, chymotrypsinogen and procarboxypeptidases and they act upon these proteins. Just now I told you trypsin, carboxypeptidases as well as these other enzymes such as procarboxylases, they act on the complex proteins and they break down into simple peptides as well as peptones. The simplest form of proteins is amino acids. So in this way, complex proteins they are digested into simpler forms in our diet and later they are absorbed by various cells for the functioning of their activities and taking place in their cellular metabolism.